I get to play with Legos for science, for science. I get to play with Legos for science, for science. Oh, whoops, I didn't realize you were watching. I call that my Lego science dance. Haha, I know, creative name, isn't it? Well, if you haven't guessed it yet, today we get to play with Legos, all in the name of science, 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 science. So let's get busy and start building. To get started with this experiment, you only need 15 Legos in different size and color. You'll also need a measuring tape and a scale. Well, that was easy. I guess we should get started with our experiment. Wait, let's not rush. We should probably go over a few words that we'll be using during our experiment just to make sure we're on the same page. That's a great idea. I know I came up with it. Okay, the words to know. Height. Height is a measurement of how tall an object or person is. Weight is a measurement of how heavy a person or object is. Third and last is shape, which is the form or an outline of an object. I have been very patient with myself, but in the name of science, I want to start building. Okay, so first things first. We have these Legos in front of us, but what kind of objects should we build? I wonder if we could build different objects from the same Lego blocks. I also wonder how many different objects we could build from these Legos. Let's start by building a tower, just like the one I built at summer camp. Now that was pretty fun. Let's examine what I've done. The first thing I noticed about my tower is that the base is wider than the top. I've done this so that way the tower sits nice and sturdy. I've also put all the smaller blocks at the top so that way the tower is not top heavy. Now that I've finished, let's write down some important information about the tower so we can easily remember and compare it to other objects later on. The first piece of information I want to write down about my tower is how many Legos I used. I know that I used 15 Legos. The next thing I want to observe about my tower is the shape. Well, if you look at the tower, what shape does it look like? I think it looks most like a rectangle. So let's write down the shape. The next thing I want to notice is how tall my tower is. So let's use our measuring tape and measure in centimeters. So when I measure our tower, I can see that our tower is 10 centimeters tall. So let's write down 10 centimeters. Finally, I want to weigh my tower to see how many grams it weighs. So let's put it on our digital scale and check it out. So our tower weighs exactly 29 grams. Let's write that down as well. Okay, let me disassemble the fort and think of something else to build. Wait, I've got it. How about a robot? Before we start to build, let me think. I wonder if our robot will be the same size and shape as our amazing tower. Will it be the same height and weight? There's only one way to find out. Let's start building. Another masterpiece. Let's take a closer look at our robot. We look at our robot, the first thing I notice is that the base is wider than the top, just like our tower. Let's write down some information about our robot so that way we can easily compare it to the tower. The first thing I want to write down is how many Legos I used. Just like the tower, we used 15 Legos. Let's write that down. The next thing I want to notice is the shape of our robot. Well, when I take a look at our robot, I really don't see any recognizable shape, but I do know that we used a lot of rectangles in making our robot. So I'm going to write down rectangular. The next thing I want to notice is the height of our robot. Now, just by looking at it, I can already see it's a little bit shorter, but let's measure just to be sure. So I'm going to use our measuring tape again and measure in centimeters. So this time when we measure, I can see that our robot is exactly 6 centimeters tall. So let's write down 6 centimeters. Finally, we're going to want to use our digital scale again to weigh our robot. Our robot, again, is exactly 29 grams. So let's write that down. So what was similar and different about the robot and the tower? Well, I know the tower was taller, but the robot was a little bit wider. They weighed exactly the same at 29 grams. Interesting. First, as most of you know, Legos are fun. Second, science and Legos are even more fun. Third, and probably most important, is that we can make observations, remember them by writing them down, and we can make different objects from the same materials. Well, that's all for me, folks. Thanks for stopping by, and remember to keep on sciencing.